Ever wonder if you've been doing something wrong your entire life without even realizing it? Take peeling a banana, for instance. Yes, a regular old banana. What if I told you there's a way that's far simpler, cleaner, and just plain better? And bananas are only the tip of the iceberg. Today, we're diving into the world of everyday foods to discover that many of them we've been eating, peeling, or preparing completely differently than nature intended, or even culinary logic dictates. Get ready to be surprised, because after this video, your perspective on food will never be the same. So, where do these food habits even come from? Mostly, we just replicate what we saw as kids. Our parents taught us, and their parents taught them. It's a cultural blueprint passed down through generations. We rarely stop to ask ourselves, is there another way? But sometimes, the most ingenious, efficient, and correct methods remain hidden in plain sight. They might be based on plant biology, the chemical processes involved in cooking, or simply common sense that we somehow never quite grasped. Let's rectify that and kick off our gastronomic investigation. All right, let's kick things off with the most obvious yet surprisingly shocking example. Bananas. Think about how you normally do it. You grab the banana by its firm stem, that little tail, and try to snap it open. Sometimes it gives easily, but other times it's so stubborn you have to really force it. The result? You end up squeezing the banana itself. It gets bruised, turning into mush, even before you've peeled it, and your hands are left with sticky juice. Sound familiar, right? Now picture a different scenario. Flip the banana over. Yes, really. Just hold it upside down. See that small black tip on the opposite end? That's the key. Simply pinch that tip with 2 fingers, a gentle squeeze. You'll be surprised, but the peel will practically open itself, splitting into 2 neat halves. No effort, no broken nails, and no squished banana. They say this is how monkeys do it, and they certainly know a thing or two about bananas. They instinctively choose the easiest and most efficient way. Try it next time, and you'll never go back to your old method. Enough about bananas, let's talk about the undisputed queen of summer berries, the strawberry. Picture a bowl of those plump, fragrant berries. Your first instinct is probably to grab a small knife and carefully hull them, trimming off the green stems. But let's be honest, no matter how carefully you try, you inevitably cut away some of that delicious, sweet flesh, along with the leafy caps. It might seem like a small thing, but over a whole pound or kilogram, you're actually wasting a significant amount of fruit. It's practically a crime against your taste buds. But what if I told you there's a solution? One that's elegantly simple. Forget the knife. All you need is an ordinary drinking straw. Pick up a strawberry, making sure the pointed end is facing upwards. Now simply push the straw straight through the berry from the bottom. The straw will glide right through the flesh and perfectly eject the green stem and that tough, white core right out the top. All that delicious, juicy part stays perfectly intact. It's not just fast and clean, it's incredibly efficient. No wasted berry, just a perfectly hulled, ideal strawberry, ready to enjoy. Try it once, and you'll never reach for a knife again. Now let's talk about the fuzzy, enigmatic kiwi. Many people love them, but rarely buy them. And the reason is simple. They're just a pain to peel. That thin, fuzzy skin. Trying to remove it with a knife or a vegetable peeler almost always turns into a disaster. The fruit slips in your hands, you cut off too much of the precious flesh, and the juicy goodness runs down your fingers, leaving sticky trails. In the end, what's left on your plate is a sad, shapeless green blob, and half the vitamins end up wasted on the cutting board. But what if I told you that you don't need to peel it at all? Seriously, not even a little bit. Just grab a kiwi, a sharp knife, and slice it right down the middle, crosswise. You'll now have 2 perfect little green cups, brimming with vibrant emerald flesh and those tiny black seeds. Now simply take a teaspoon and scoop out the delicious pulp directly from the skin, almost like you're enjoying a small serving of sorbet in its own natural bowl. No stickiness, no wasted fruit. All the goodness and amazing flavour stay with you. In this case, the skin isn't a barrier. It's the perfect natural serving dish. Simple, brilliant, and incredibly convenient. Next up, the vibrant, juicy orange. Ah, the battle with the orange peel. Sound familiar? You try to pry it off with your nail, and it just tears into tiny bits. Those bitter white, pithy fibres cling stubbornly to the segments, and the essential oils spray everywhere, sometimes right into your eyes. You end up with sticky fingers, orange-stained nails, and a table covered in tiny scraps of peel. Let's be honest, the whole process is less than enjoyable. But what if you could do it with surgical precision, without a single drop of juice on your hands? Grab a sharp knife. First, slice off the top and bottom of the orange, creating flat surfaces so it can stand steadily on your cutting board. Now, stand it upright and make one single vertical cut, going from one flat end to the other. Crucially, only cut through the peel, not into the fruit itself. And now, for the magic, simply grab the edges of the cut and gently unroll the orange as if opening a scroll. What you'll see before you is a neat strip of segments, still connected at the base, like an edible accordion. Just grab and enjoy. No sticky, messy battle with the peel. Simple, clean, and absolutely brilliant. And now, let's talk about the king of tropical fruits, the magnificent mango. Oh, that divine taste. But getting to it can be quite the challenge. Trying to peel it like a potato? That's a recipe for disaster. It's slippery, the flesh is delicate, and those pesky fibres cling to your knife. Right in the middle, there's a huge flat pit that's impossible to cut around. The result? Sticky juice dripping down your arms to your elbows, and a plate that looks nothing like the beautiful, appetizing pieces you imagined. But there's an elegant and incredibly satisfying method, often called the hedgehog. Grab a sharp knife and slice the mango lengthwise, around the flat pit to get two halves. You'll end up with two boats of juicy mango flesh. Next, take one half, and without cutting through the skin, score the flesh in a crisscross pattern. Make several parallel cuts one way, then cross them with cuts in the opposite direction. You're essentially drawing a grid. And now for the magic. Take that half in your hands and simply invert the skin by pushing up from underneath. The flesh will fan out beautifully, like a flower in bloom, and those pre-cut cubes will stand upright, creating the perfect hedgehog. You can easily slice off the cubes with a knife, or simply enjoy them straight from the peel. No sticky hands, no wasted fruit, just perfectly neat, juicy cubes of pure mango goodness. Now let's turn our attention to that beautiful ruby treasure, the pomegranate. Many adore its taste, but the mere thought of deseeding one often causes a bit of anxiety. You grab a knife, make a cut, and instantly your kitchen becomes the scene of a colourful disaster. Tiny droplets of crimson juice fly everywhere, staining your favourite t-shirt and kitchen apron. Then begins the long, tedious process of picking out the seeds from the bitter white membranes. In the end, after half an hour of struggle, you're left with stained fingers and just a handful of seeds, which feels like a meagre reward for all that effort. But there's a method that transforms this messy battle into an elegant, clean operation. The secret ingredient? Ordinary water. Fill a deep bowl with cool water. Now cut off the crown of the pomegranate and make several shallow scores along its skin, following the white membranes. Submerge the pomegranate in the water, and right there, underwater, gently break it apart into sections. Now, watch the magic unfold, which is, in fact, pure physics. The heavy, juicy, ruby seeds will gracefully sink to the bottom of the bowl. Meanwhile, all the light, bitter white pith and skin pieces will float to the surface. All you have to do then is scoop out the floating debris with a spoon, drain the water, and you'll have a perfect pile of pristine seeds. No splashes, no bitterness, no stress. Now let's talk about a viral myth that took the internet by storm. The pineapple. You've probably seen those mesmerizing videos. Someone takes a whole pineapple and, with just a gentle flick of their fingers, pulls out segment after segment, as if it were a Lego set. No knife, no sticky mess. It all looks so simple and magical that you immediately want to run to the store and try it yourself. But, as is often the case with internet trends, there's a big catch. Let's be honest, 99% of the time, you're going to be disappointed. This trick only works with a very specific variety of pineapple, one you'll rarely find in your average supermarket. On top of that, the fruit needs to be perfectly ripe, almost overripe, with its structure already starting to break down. With a regular, firm pineapple, you'll likely just tear off a bit of rind at best and end up with sticky hands. So don't blame yourself if you couldn't pull off this feat. The good old knife, the one you use to slice off the top, bottom and skin from the sides, is still the most reliable and proven way to get to that sweet, juicy flesh. Next up, we have the creamy, tender avocado. It's become a global breakfast superstar, but it hides one small, tricky detail. Its pit. What do we usually see in most video recipes? A blogger dramatically slices the avocado in half, then with one swift, confident motion, jabs a large knife into the pit, twists, and pops it out. It looks impressive, I won't deny it. But in real life, that's one of the quickest ways to end up in the emergency room. Avocados are slippery, knives are sharp, and your hand can easily slip. Trust me, doctors even have a special term for these injuries: avocado hand. Let's forget about that dangerous trick. There's a much simpler and safer way. After you've cut the avocado into 2 halves, simply cut the half with the pit in it once more, lengthwise. Now you'll have 3 pieces, 1 whole half and 2 quarters with the pit nestled between them. And now, because the pit is no longer tightly gripped by the flesh, it lifts out easily with just your fingers. Absolutely no effort required, no risk, no knives needed. It's simple, elegant, and most importantly, safe for your hands. Now, for dessert, let's talk about cupcakes. These adorable little cakes, with their generous swirl of frosting, look incredibly tempting. But how do you actually eat them? If you try to bite from the top, you inevitably end up with frosting on your nose. And if you start by eating the cake part from the bottom, you're left with a huge mound of frosting, and the flavour balance is completely off. You get a mouthful of dry cake first, followed by an overly sweet cream. The result? A messy face, and not quite the delightful gastronomic experience you were hoping for. But true cupcake connoisseurs know a little secret that transforms this dessert into the perfect bite. Here's how. Take your cupcake, carefully tear off, or slice with a knife if you prefer, the bottom half of the cake. Now, simply place that bottom piece directly on top of the frosting, pressing down gently. Voila! You've just created a perfect mini sandwich with the creamy frosting nestled perfectly between 2 layers of soft cake. Now every single bite will be perfectly balanced, tender cake and luscious, airy cream all at once. No more messy noses, just pure, unadulterated cupcake bliss. Even something as seemingly simple as a chocolate bar can hold a little secret. Take, for instance, the famous Swiss Toblerone, with its distinctive triangular peaks. What's our first instinct? We instinctively grab the end triangle and try to snap it off, pulling it outwards from the main bar. Sometimes it works, but it often takes a lot of force, and the chocolate can easily crack in the wrong place, especially if it's just come out of the fridge. But the clever creators of this chocolate bar designed it with a little secret. The trick lies in doing the exact opposite. Instead of pulling the triangle outwards, simply press down on its tip with your thumb, pushing it inwards towards the rest of the bar. Thanks to its clever design and those pre-scored lines, it will snap off effortlessly and perfectly clean. It's a simple case of physics and leverage. Give it a try yourself, and you'll feel like a true Swiss chocolatier, someone who truly understands the art of chocolate. No more struggling, just an elegant snap. Let's take a virtual trip to the heart of Italy and talk about the very soul of its cuisine. Pasta. More specifically, spaghetti. What do most of us do when we see long strands of pasta won't fit entirely into the pot? Exactly. We grab a bunch of spaghetti and snap it in half with a satisfying crunch. It seems logical and practical, right? But if a true Italian witnessed this, their heart would likely break right along with it. For Italians, breaking spaghetti is nothing short of culinary sacrilege. And it's not just about tradition. The whole point of long pasta is its ability to be elegantly twirled around a fork, capturing the perfect amount of sauce. Short, broken pieces simply can't achieve this. They slide off your fork, are awkward to eat, and leave most of the delicious sauce languishing at the bottom of your plate. The length of spaghetti isn't accidental. It's a functional design, perfected over centuries. So, next time, simply choose a larger pot, or gently lower the spaghetti into the boiling water. Within about 30 seconds, it will soften and submerge itself completely. Preserve its integrity, and your pasta will undoubtedly say, "Grazie." Sticking with Italy, let's move on to another one of its iconic dishes, pizza. Imagine a hot, fragrant slice right in front of you, with gooey, stretchy cheese and a generous, juicy topping. You pick it up by the crust, lift it, and then, thanks to gravity, all that delicious topping slides right off. It lands on your plate, or worse, all over your clothes. The pointy tip just flops down, limp and lifeless. Now you're left with an awkward choice. Try to eat it gingerly, or resort to a knife and fork, which for many pizza purists is practically sacrilege. But there's a simple, brilliant trick used everywhere from Naples, the birthplace of pizza, to bustling New York, where they truly mastered the art of the big slice. Here's how. Grab your slice by the crust and simply fold it lengthwise. Not a full fold, just enough to create a gentle U-shaped crease or trough. This simple little fold acts like a structural rib. Suddenly, your pizza slice holds its shape perfectly. No more flopping, and all that delicious topping stays securely in place. You can confidently eat it on the go, without fear of a messy spill. It's more than just a life hack. It's a fundamental part of pizza eating culture that transforms the experience into a clean, comfortable, and thoroughly enjoyable pleasure. Now let's journey across the globe to Japan and dive into the world of sushi. While this dish has taken the world by storm, its global conquest has unfortunately come with some less than authentic practices. The most common one, crafting a wasabi bomb in your soy sauce dish. We pour in the soy sauce, then dump in a generous dollop of green wasabi, stirring it vigorously with our chopsticks until it transforms into a murky, greenish sludge. To a Japanese sushi master, this scene is nothing short of a horror show. But why? Firstly, it completely obliterates the delicate flavours of the fish, the rice, and even the soy sauce itself. All you get is a single overpowering, salty, spicy punch to your taste buds. Secondly, it's considered poor etiquette. The correct method is far more refined. A tiny dab of wasabi is delicately placed directly onto the fish. This way, you can customize the heat level for every single piece. As for the soy sauce, sushi should only be dipped lightly, and specifically the fish side, never the rice. Rice, being like a sponge, absorbs too much sauce, causes the piece to fall apart, and completely overwhelms the delicate flavours. Try it this way, and you'll unlock entirely new, subtle dimensions of flavour in your favourite dish. Love chicken wings but hate the messy hassle of eating them? You're definitely not alone. We twist, turn, and struggle to gnaw every last bit of meat from around those two awkward bones. You end up with sticky fingers, a saucy face, and half the delicious meat still clinging to the bone. It often feels more like a wrestling match than a relaxed meal. But what if I told you that you could transform any chicken wing into a perfect boneless nugget in just 5 seconds? The secret is surprisingly simple. A chicken wing has 2 main sections, the drumette and the flat. You'll want the flat, which is the middle section with 2 parallel bones. At the wider end of the flat, feel for the small piece of cartilage connecting the 2 bones. Grip it firmly and twist to break that connection. Now just grab the tip of the smaller, thinner bone, give it a slight twist and pull it straight out. Do the same with the second, thicker bone. Both bones will slide out completely clean. What you're left with is a perfect, tender piece of meat, completely boneless. Now you can dip the whole thing in your favourite sauce and truly enjoy it. No more mess, no more struggle, just pure, unadulterated pleasure. Let's talk about nuts, and we'll begin with the small yet notoriously stubborn pistachio. We've all been there. You grab a handful, and a few of those little guys are just cracked open by a hair's breadth. Your fingernail won't fit, and trying to force it with your teeth is just asking for trouble. So you're left with a dilemma. Do you toss that stubborn nut, or waste precious minutes futilely trying to pry it open? But the solution to this frustrating problem is quite literally right in your hand. Don't discard the shells from the pistachios you've already easily opened and enjoyed. One of those empty halves will become your perfect little tool. Simply take one half of an empty shell, insert its sharp pointed end into that tiny, stubborn crack on the closed pistachio. Now just twist the shell gently, as if turning a key in a lock. It will act as a perfect lever, and with a satisfying little click, that stubborn nut will pop right open. It's a brilliant example of how nature often provides us, not just with the challenge, but also the ingenious solution, all in one package. No need for any other gadgets, just what's naturally available. It's simple, quick, and incredibly effective. Let's keep the nut theme going and dive into the big guns. Walnuts. Rock hard and sturdy, their tough shells reliably protect the delicious kernels inside. Without a nutcracker or, heaven forbid, a hammer, getting them open can seem like an impossible task. Trying to crush them with a door, a book, or any other heavy object usually results in a pulverized kernel or damaged property. And let's not even get started on what it can do to your teeth. But there's a simple trick that only requires your hands, a little physics, and absolutely no tools. Grab not one, but 2 walnuts in the palm of your hand. Position them so they fit snugly against each other. Now simply clench your fist as tightly as you can. All the force from your hand will be focused right where they meet. The nuts will press against each other, and one of them, the slightly weaker one, is bound to crack under the pressure. This method works especially well if you align their seams so they're pressing against each other. It's simple, effective, and lets you crack a walnut anywhere, even while you're out for a stroll in the park. Now, let's talk about flavour. Did you know that the same ingredient can have vastly different flavour intensities depending on how you prepare it? Take garlic, for instance. It can be mild and sweet, or it can be sharp and pungent, strong enough to bring tears to your eyes. And it's not about the variety, it's all about the way you cut or process it. The secret lies in the chemistry. When you break down a garlic clove, whether you chop it, crush it, or grate it, you release an enzyme called alliinase. This enzyme then reacts with another compound, alliin, to form allicin. Allicin is the very compound responsible for garlic's distinctive pungent taste and aroma. The more you damage the garlic cells, the more allicin is released. So if you're aiming for just a subtle garlic flavour, for instance, in a sauce, simply crush a clove with the flat side of your knife and add it whole to your oil. But if you need maximum pungency and that powerful kick for a marinade, mince the garlic into a fine paste using a grater or a press. This understanding essentially gives you full control over the flavour profile of your dish. Who among us hasn't shed a tear or two while chopping onions? It seems like an unavoidable price for a delicious meal. Tears stream, our eyes sting, and the whole cooking process can feel like torture. We try various hacks, cutting them under water, chewing gum, lighting a candle. Some methods help, but none are foolproof. But actually, the main culprit behind our tears is concentrated in one single spot, the root end of the onion, that little nub. That's where you'll find the highest concentration of those volatile sulfur compounds that, when released and mixed, form sulfuric acid, irritating our mucous membranes. So, to minimise tears, simply change the way you cut your onions. First, trim off the top, peel the outer layers, and then cut the onion in half lengthwise. But leave the root end completely intact until the very last moment. Make your horizontal and vertical cuts, but be careful not to slice all the way through the root. Only at the very end, when you're ready to chop off your diced pieces, will you finally remove the root. This way, the tear factory will operate for the shortest possible time. This simple trick will save you a lot of tears. Let's talk about tea, or more precisely, about tea bags. You've just brewed your tea, the bag has steeped. What do you do next? Most likely, you take it out with a spoon and diligently squeeze it against the rim of your mug, perhaps even winding the string around the spoon. This seems perfectly logical, right? You're trying to get the most out of the tea, making the drink stronger and richer. Plus, it prevents any drips when you carry it to the trash can. But here's the catch. By doing so, we're actually ruining the taste of our drink. You see, tea leaves contain tannins, natural compounds that give tea its characteristic astringency and colour. During normal steeping, only a fraction of these tannins infuses into the water. However, when you forcefully squeeze that tea bag, you're essentially pressing out a concentrated dose of those very tannins from the saturated tea leaves. The result isn't just a stronger tea, but one that's unpleasantly bitter and astringent. The proper way to do it is to simply let the tea bag steep for the desired time, then gently lift it out and allow it to drip naturally without applying any pressure. That's how you'll preserve the clean, balanced flavour of your drink. Finally, let's turn our attention to the simplest and most fundamental food on our tables: bread. Picture this. You've just bought a fresh, still warm loaf or baguette with an incredibly crisp crust and the softest, airiest crumb. You grab your everyday kitchen knife and try to cut a slice. And what happens? The blade just sinks into the soft crumb. You press down, and instead of a neat slice, you end up with a squashed, flattened mess with a torn crust. All the airiness and beauty of that fresh bread is utterly destroyed. The problem is, different tasks require different tools. And for bread, there's a specific, specialised knife that many people simply overlook. It's a bread knife with a long, serrated blade and small, sharp teeth. It's designed not to press down, but to saw. Those serrations easily slice through the hard, crispy crust without crushing it. And then, with hardly any pressure, the knife glides through the soft crumb like a hot knife through butter, leaving a perfect, clean slice. By using the right knife, you preserve all the texture and beauty of the bread. It's a small detail that shows respect for the product and the baker's craft. So what does all this mean? Have we been struggling with pomegranates, ruining our tea, and fumbling with cupcakes our entire lives, all for nothing? As it turns out, there's a surprising amount of science and logic behind these seemingly simple actions. The right way isn't just about etiquette or some quirky habit. It's a way to unlock maximum flavour from your food, like with garlic or tea. It can save you time and hassle, like when dealing with pomegranates or oranges. And sometimes, it's simply a way to get more out of your food, like not throwing away half a strawberry with its stem. The biggest takeaway here is that the world of food is far deeper and more fascinating than we often realise. By changing just one small habit, you might unlock a whole new flavour experience, or simply make your life a little easier. Today, we've seen that even the most familiar things can hold surprising secrets, and there's always something new to learn. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If you found any of this new or helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on other amazing facts. Now for a question for you. What foods do you think we're all eating wrong? Share your secrets and life hacks in the comments below. Let's build a complete collection of useful tips together. Какво да правите след това? Споделете храната с семейството си или с нуждаещи се. Важно е нищо от тези приношения да не бъде изхвърлено или изгубено, тъй като това би било знак за неуважение към даровете на природата и Бога. Кулинарни традиции на деня. На 26 август, като преходен ден, кулинарните традиции са свързани с даровете на края на лятото и подготовката за есента. Пресни плодове. Основен акцент са пресните плодове, сочно грозде, ароматни ябълки, сладки круши. Те се консумират както сурови, така и се използват за приготвяне на компоти, конфитюри или плодови сладкиши, символ на изобилието и сладостта на живота. Хляб. Винаги присъства на трапезата. Препоръчително е да се изпече домашен хляб, който може да бъде украсен с кръст или други символи. Хлябът е символ на живота и Божията благодат. Леки ястия. Тъй като не е строг пост, но е ден за почит и въздържание, ястията са по-скоро леки и приготвени от сезонни зеленчуци. Боб чорба, леща, зеленчукови яхни или пълнени чушки са подходящи за трапезата. Месото не е задължително, а ако се консумира, е в умерени количества. Вино. Може да се пие вино, особено ако имате домашно производство от ранно грозде. То е символ на радост и благодат, но се консумира с мярка и уважение. А сега да обърнем внимание на главните забрани на деня, онези неща, които категорично не бива да правите, защото могат да привлекат нещастия и проблеми. Първо, не разкривайте тайни и не клюкарствайте. На този ден, в памет на света Наталия, която е пазила вярата си в тайна и е действала със скрита мъдрост, е строго забранено да разкривате чужди тайни, да злословите или да се подавате на празнодумие и клюки. Според народните вярвания, всяка разкрита тайна днес може да ви донесе предателство, дълбоки проблеми с доверието или дори публичен позор. Думите, изречени с лошо намерение, ще се обърнат срещу вас, привличайки негативна енергия и раздор в живота ви. Бъдете предпазливи с думите си. Втора, не започвайте нови, мащабни начинания. Денят на 26 август не е благоприятен за стартиране на големи проекти, нов бизнес или други важни начинания, които изискват много енергия и дългосрочен ангажимент. Този ден е по-скоро за преосмисляне, планиране и подготовка, за да се укрепи вече съществуващото. Всяко мащабно начинание, започнато днес, може да се сблъска с непреодолими препятствия, да претърпи неочаквани обрати или да има скрити дефекти, които ще излязат наяве по-късно и ще доведат до провал. Трето, избягвайте спорове и кавги, особено в семейството. Денят, посветен на Свети Адриан и Наталия, е силен символ на съпружеска любов, вярност и подкрепа. Всякакви раздори, конфликти или повишен тон днес могат да нарушат хармонията в дома за дълго време. Започналите днес спорове са трудни за разрешаване, а прошката може да дойде изключително трудно, оставяйки дълбоки рани. Вярва се, че раздорите днес привличат неразбирателство и отчуждение. Четвъртис.